Make sure we have all the audio here. All right, we're good. We are good. We are here. We are live. We are live for another week 5 recap show. Big week for the picks contest. Big week for all the teams involved. Big week in general in the NFL. And we're closing it out with a big one tonight. Big things, big stakes on the line tonight. Kansas City Chiefs hosting the New Orleans Saints. Chiefs, a banged up Chiefs squad. They're gonna need to get something out of Travis Kelce, I think, because they're down to their last licks, as they say in the baseball world. But so we'll do a quick recap of the picks contest. We'll do a recap of the games involved with that. We'll do a quick preview for the Monday night game, and then we'll get up out of here and get ready for next week. Obviously, next week next week is big. We might have to do some type of live, watch party or something, because we got two prime times. We got a primetime standalone game for the Giants on Sunday night, and then we obviously have the primetime standalone game for the Jets on Monday night. So I don't know. We might have to figure out some way to be live for all of the happenings, all of the reactions. But recapping where we are with the picks, unfortunately, I think there might be something there might be bad luck associated with the money line parlay, because I feel like the better we do on the money line parlay, the worse we do with the picks. I don't know if that's if there's a correlation there, but I was thinking, I was like, damn, I shouldn't have, when we were doing the money line parlay draft, I was thinking, man, I should have drafted, I should have had that in mind when I was making my picks. I want to be more strategic about that, because sometimes there are picks, like I thought that the pick that you made was brilliant, the Arizona pick. Because that, to me, and I don't know exactly why you made that pick in the Moneyline Parlay draft, but when you made that pick, I was like, that's a great pick, because that's a pick I would want the value on the big Moneyline number, but don't necessarily want the spread. You know what I mean? I felt like, for whatever reason, I looked at that game like like that was just, I just thought it was a great pick. And then I was thinking to myself, I wish I would have not taken the Bengals with the spread, and I would have just had them money line, because I'm starting to feel like, because it was that game was the perfect example. The Bengals Ravens game was the perfect example, and we see it week after week. It's the perfect example of when we talk about, damn, I'm waiting on the 3. I want the 3. I hope this gets to 3. Because it's such a key number. And when you're watching a game unfold and you have a 3 in the pocket, and it's a close game, or if it's a back and forth game, or possibly an overtime game, whenever you have the 3 in the pocket, it always feels so much different, and tends to play out so much different than when you have the 2.5. And as I was sitting there with the 2.5 with the Bengals in that Bengals Ravens game, I just knew, I was like, I felt good because they had a lead. And obviously, when you have a lead in points, but I just knew very early on, I knew the points aren't going to matter for me in this game. Either the Bengals are going to win, or they're not going to cover the 2.5. Like the 2.5, I knew was kind of like useless. So that's why I was thinking, like, in instances like that, there may be times where I may want to forego taking a small number as a dog and just roll with the money line. And just try to, because I mean that's kind of how we view it from a betting standpoint anyway. So for the purposes of what we're doing, I think I may try to forecast that a little bit, but of course can't necessarily forecast which teams will be available if we're going to be drafting doing the money line draft. But anyhow, just things to consider. Unfortunately, very difficult week for you against the spread. You got some bad beats. I don't think you were on the wrong side of anything. The one thing it's tough, because obviously the Jets one, I understood why you did it. I understood why you would take that pick. It made sense. I wanted to show some things with the film room breakdown that I was trying to orchestrate, but of course that didn't work out. We'll try to do that another time. But I felt you took like you had such small numbers that kind of were like teetering, and they just sometimes they don't go your way, and it was
Yeah,
just
but the thing is, they all fell the wrong way.
well, no, yeah, but that's sucks.
Usually when you say teetering, at least one falls in your general direction. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
yeah, no, for sure. But I just feel like you had them all, and they all just happened to teeter in the wrong direction.
Hmm.
But I don't really feel like any of them were like just terrible picks. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, if I was gonna go, and you know what the crazy thing
They
is?
all they
So
all came they all came down to the last minute, basically.
yeah, and the one thing that that I was gonna say, and that the reason why I wanted to do the film thing was because I was watching a lot of specifically. I guess we could start with the Jets Vikings because I had been listening to a lot of people leading up to that game, on like betting podcasts and just you know real intense hardcore betters that I follow and just kind of getting their perspective on the game. And there was a pretty even split. There were a lot of people that viewed it from a spot standpoint that it looked like a bounce back spot for the Jets, and then there were other people that thought that from a matchup standpoint it wasn't a good matchup for the Jets. And I heard a lot of people specifically who were on the Jets talking about how specifically the Vikings defense and the Brian Flores defense, that there's a lot of that so far this year. They've been doing a lot of confusing quarterbacks. They've been doing a lot of trickery, a lot of kind of masking where the protection needs to be, where the blitz is coming from. And the people who were on the Jets going into that game were like, well, Aaron Rodgers has seen it all, so he should be able to, if anybody should be able to pick apart and handle the Vikings blitz packages, it should be him. And
Mhm.
I viewed it kind of the same way. I was like, that makes sense. I thought that there was a lot of validity to that. Obviously, didn't play out that way. So, I mean, I know that I'll let you take the floor and describe your thoughts and feelings towards the way that game played out before I continue.
Well, listen, I think they actually needed to lose this game.
I was gonna say something about that, but I didn't want. I'm trying. I'm trying to not. I'm trying.
Nah,
Trying to.
nah. Nah, this one was like frustrating, but honestly, like the way I was watching the game, like it didn't really I wasn't kind of up and down with it because it always felt like maybe it was the way that they started off so slow, and it was kind of just like they kind of beat me down, and then it was like then they slowly chopped away at the lead, and I wasn't as disappointed just because I feel like almost like the ingredients were there for them to win the game. They should have won the game, but it is still frustrating the way they lost, and also that it ended up in a loss because that's not something you're getting back. You know what I'm saying? That L is sticking. It's not that doesn't count for anything. But like if like the offense, they have to get something going, and they have to switch up completely what they're doing. Like I think this was more like this felt like more of a loss that you can attribute to like the play calling and the way the offense was schemed up as opposed to like the play on the field because obviously the defense, it's a good defense. It's played well, the first 4 weeks or whatever. And I know there's been times where it's like looked vulnerable or whatever, but I was like frustrated with the lack of like deep shots. There was no deep throws. Um, there was like no creativity whatsoever. I thought at one point they were gonna get into it, like they had the two backs in, but they didn't really lean on it. Like even if it was for protection purposes, like the way that Aaron Rodgers was getting teed off at, because they were blitzing and they were blitzing to the spot where he was going. You know what I'm saying? Like they were coming off the edge and they knew where he was going to be on his drop. So that was the more frustrating part. There was some parts like, there was a couple throws that he double clutched where he should have just let it go. And maybe it was the thing that he threw the two interceptions early, so maybe he was kind of like gun shy about throwing another one. Um, like during the middle of the game after those first two. But like, I mean, I was joking about the okay, glad they lost or whatever. But this, it's time where like you got to do something about Alan Lazard. Like that first interception, the pick six, that's not a it doesn't it that doesn't happen if not Alan Lazard getting dropping that third that first down that he did was it the first, it was the first or second quarter that he dropped, had both hands on it. He had four drops yesterday. Like that one that they kicked the field goal on. That's 4 point. He contributed. Alan Lazard contributed negative 11 points because he dropped the touchdown pass. You know, granted, it wasn't an easy catch to make, but it's a catch that you should be making if you're an $11 million a year wide receiver and this is your guy. Um, and then also
Okay,
the
go
one
ahead.
that he and the one that he dropped that caused the third down play, the hot route third down play that caused the Van Ginkel pick six. So it's just that was frustrating. That like if they do get the Devontae Adams, he's the guy who needs to take the back seat. Like he's the one who needs to be shoved down, not like rotating it and like, oh, Mike Williams has to come off the bench because this was the de facto number, because Lazard was the de facto number two wide receiver. So that means that now, Garrett Wilson is two, Alan Lazard is three. No, it has to be he's the fourth wide receiver in on red zone packages. And I can't with him, man. He just had another one of the. Maybe he wanted to be playing soccer just because he was at a soccer stadium, a stadium. Maybe that's what he should have been doing, because he looked like he
Hey,
was trying
don't
to
blame
catch
my
with
Tottenham
his feet
Hotspur
out
for
there.
your Jets' problems. They got nothing to do with this. My Tottenham, they put to,
Jesus, it was, it was
they
frustrating.
have a beautiful stadium. So, first
Yeah,
of
no.
all, you say you got to do something. So you got to do something with Alan Lazard. There's nothing that's going to be done with Alan Lazard. That's the thing. It's
Well,
yeah,
I'm
you can
saying
say you got to
relegation.
do. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying in terms of like, okay, they bring in Devontae Adams and he's the one who gets relegated. That's what they could do just to keep it in soccer
But that's not what they're
terms.
gonna do.
Like, I mean, they did bench him at some. They did bench him
Yeah, when
last
Zach
year.
Wilson
I
was
mean, so
playing
I don't.
quarterback. When Zach Wilson was playing quarterback.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
don't know,
listen,
man.
Lazard can't play, or I shouldn't say can't play. He's hurting the team. Lazard's presence is
Yes, you're
hurting the
hurting
team.
me.
The offensive coordinator is hurting the team, and to me, unfortunately, that all comes down to the quarterback is hurting the team, because neither of them would be there if it wasn't for him, and he was supposed to be the ultimate elixir that was going to make everything okay. Whatever Alan Lazard's problems were supposed to go away when Aaron Rodgers became the quarterback. Whatever Nate Hackett's failures and shortcomings were supposed to go away when Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback. And now we're not seeing any of that happen. We're seeing, and that's why I feel like ultimately, unfortunately, it's on Rodgers, because he's supposed to be the guy. Like, you didn't. as much as you try to sell and convince yourself and others that Nate Hackett, had a resume that was, something to get excited about, I think we all really deep down inside knew that this was not about Nate Hackett and the Jets. It was about Nate Hackett and Aaron Rodgers. I think we all knew that. And now we're seeing that. That's why I can't blame the offensive coordinator for anything, and I can't really blame Alan Lazard for anything because he's here for a reason. Like at the end of the day, Rodgers was supposed to. This was supposed to be the best way to get the most out of Rodgers. That was what this was all about, and I was in support of it when they were acquiring these guys. I was not initially in love with the idea of we're gonna create Green Bay East and have these dudes come over here, but if that was what it was gonna take to bring Rodgers over here, and that was what it was gonna take to have him have the best chance to be successful, then okay, I'll hold my nose and I'll be on board. But now we're 5 weeks in and it looks ugly. It doesn't look good. Rodgers doesn't look good. And the thing that scared me, Rodgers has a lot of problems. Like, nothing that is uncorrectable, but he's doing things out there on the field that surprise me. Obviously, the Van Ginkel is an obvious thing you could point to. He got fooled. And Rodgers doesn't typically get fooled, but anybody can get fooled, especially if a team is playing well. Maybe he's pressing. He wants to make a play. It's early in the game. He's trying to, whatever. But then the next time they get the ball and he throws another pick, I mean, that was an amateur pick. That was an amateur. That was wait, I didn't realize that they were playing two deep safeties. That was what concerned me, is that like Aaron Rodgers,
because that was the overthrow on Lazard, right?
Say again? Yeah, overthrew Lazard.
That was the overthrow on Lazard. Yeah.
Yeah. And I hate to use this term when describing Rodgers. I feel like it's disrespectful, but I got to call it like I see it. Rodgers is seeing ghosts. He's seeing ghosts. He's making mistakes. He's missing. He's not, like, you can blame the offensive line, but there were very clear blitzes that he didn't know where the pass rush was coming from. He couldn't even set up the protection because he was getting fooled. He was like,
yeah, man.
He looked a little bit lost. He was getting confused, and to me, that is really scary, because you didn't bring Rodgers over here because he's some young physical talent that is better than what you have. You brought him here because he's a veteran and he's not going to make those mistakes, and he's going to be able to, you're not going to have free rushers coming in and killing him, because he's going to know how to set up the protection. He's going to know where the blitz is coming from. He's going to know that when they're playing too deep safety to not make that throw, and especially to not make it an overthrow. Like, he's making decisions that are telling me that he's not seeing things right out there, and that is very concerning, because I feel like at this point in his career, 40 years old, the whole reason you got Rodgers is because he was a guy who you could trust to. The whole point, we've been talking about this literally for years now, was that he was a guy that you could put the offense pretty much in its entirety in his hands, and you could trust him to be a steward of the offense. You could trust him to kind of guide the ship, to land the plane. The whole thing was, you're not asking too much of him. You got talent. You just need him to know, to be, to use that football IQ, to know where the blitzers are coming from, to know what kind of coverages they're running from, they're running, to not get confused, to not make those mistakes. And if he's going to be making Zach Wilson-like mistakes, that's a big problem. And I say, like, I say it's not that it's not correctable, because, I don't know if it's rust. I don't know if it's frustration, because
that's what it kind of feels like.
I'm sure it does. It better, because If that's not what it is, then there's no then we're back to Mike White and Zach Wilson and Trevler, and there's really no big
Mm,
difference. And obviously, I'm sure you've seen all of
yeah.
the memes and the stats about how they have the exact same points as they did with Zach Wilson up until this point last year. That stuff doesn't really move me. But when I really looked at the film, both from last week and this week, and there were two very specific times that he got completely clobbered, and it was because he didn't know what the fuck he was doing, putting his
Mm,
own self in harm's way. So
yeah.
I don't know, man. It is what it is. There's nothing you could do about it at this point. That's why I say you just got to ride it out, because Alan Lazard's not going anywhere, whether Devontae Adams comes or not. To tell you the truth, I know you may disagree, but if Devontae Adams comes, given what I'm seeing from Garrett Wilson, I imagine he's the one that's taking the step back. Maybe not necessarily
No,
from a
I
snap
mean,
count and from a playing standpoint, but he's already. You can tell that all of that, like while and in watching the game, you can look at the statistics at the end of the day. You can look at the box score and you can be like, yeah, look, he's just force feeding Garrett Wilson. All these targets, all these receptions. He's just really, whatever, whether he's trying to get on the same page with him or what. It was obviously a very clear, intentional force feed. One of the best bets I made yesterday was on FanDuel. Garrett Wilson to catch a pass in the first drive and to have, I think it was over 6 yards or 7 yards or something in the first quarter. Those were the easiest ever because given what happened in the Broncos game, I just knew that there was going to be a very intentional, forced try for a connection there. But if you watch that game, every time there was a big moment, a big third down, a conversion that was needed, that ball was going to Alan Lazard every time. Every single time.
yeah.
So while the stats and the box score may show that Garrett Wilson is the preferred target, you bring Devontae Adams, I think that changes everything, because I don't think that he clearly doesn't trust Garrett Wilson. As much as you want to say he fed him a ton of targets, when the play needs to be made on big third downs, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8, whatever, fourth downs, going back to last week, it was always Lazard. It was always Lazard. It was even Conklin before it was Garrett Wilson. He does not. He trusts Garrett Wilson
Yeah,
to try to force feed him the ball on 1st and 2nd down, 3rd and 4th down, and on big plays, he's not feeding him.
yeah, but I will say that that's all fine, but at some point you stop trusting it. You stop trusting Alan
You stop
Lazard because it
trusting
doesn't
who?
matter. It doesn't matter if
No,
he's
you're wrong. Because
Alan
this has
Lazard
been
because it
Alan
doesn't
Lazard
matter.
his whole career.
No,
This has been Alan Lazard since Green Bay, and he still wanted him here. That's his man's. You could say that, but this Alan Lazard didn't forget how to catch all of a sudden in the Jets uniform. This is Alan Lazard's whole career. This is what he's always been. That's why I said when he came over, like he is what he is. Like he's not, he
Okay,
was.
but I
If
mean,
you're banking on the
at what I
connection
mean,
there, fine. But he's been he was a drop a minute when he was with Green Bay, and he was still Rodgers'
but
favorite target.
he has the most drops in the NFL. I mean, I don't that's fine. If you want to keep that's the definition of insanity then. Like if
Okay,
you want
but
to keep going to him and he's
this
going to
whole
keep
thing is a definition of insanity. This whole experiment,
okay.
bringing Randall Cobb and trying to recreate Green Bay, keeping completely incompetent Nate Hackett is the definition of insanity. You could tell me all you want about how it doesn't make sense. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, but this isn't about sense. This is about Rodgers and what he's comfortable with. It makes sense
I
that they
mean,
should have got rid
like
of
they
Hackett
tried
after last
they
year. They should have brought in a more
yeah, but
competent offensive
they also
coordinator, but they
tried.
didn't.
But they tried. Arthur Smith didn't want to go there because of the like just kind of like the volatility, I guess. Maybe he saw the more stability going to the Steelers. It's not for lack of trying that they So it's not. I think it's gotten to the point where it's
Well,
like,
I don't even know how
well,
much I
there's certain
believe in that
things.
whole that they tried to replace because Hackett wasn't going anywhere. So
Yeah,
how
but
hard are you
they were trying
trying to
to.
bring in
They
a
were
new
trying.
offensive coordinator if you're not getting rid of the last offensive coordinator who is homies with the star aging quarterback? How hard are you really trying? You're really trying to replace the offensive coordinator? Fire Nate Hackett. Show me something. Because if you're telling anybody who's going to come in and be a prospective offensive coordinator for this team, hey, we want you to come be offensive coordinator. However, you got to do everything with the quarterback, what he says, and his man who's currently offensive coordinator, who you're going to be replacing, he's going to stay. What offensive coordinator worth
Mhm.
anything are you getting under those bizarre circumstances? None. So how are you really trying to replace the offensive coordinator? There was a very unserious effort to replace Nate Hackett. Like, let's be honest about that. Let's not be ridiculous.
It's fair. It's fair, but the point is that it's not like they were just waiting to, like, kind of stay status quo, for lack of a better word. But um, just the fact that they weren't scared to ruffle feathers and may step on some toes. You know what I'm saying? Like that
Who
has to
says?
count for
What makes you
something.
say that? I don't believe that.
Well, if you don't believe it, then it's pointless even bringing it up because.
But what
But I'm
makes you
just
say
going
that they were
off
scared to
what
ruffle feathers? To me, if they were scared to ruffle feathers,
because if
make a serious move, bring in a serious offensive
yeah,
play caller here.
no, I understand, but like there's other things
I think
at play here.
all
Like
things
there was people
point to the contrary.
who didn't want to come.
Yeah, they didn't want
I
to come
mean,
because of the circumstance, because because of the exact opposite of what you're saying. They were afraid to ruffle feathers. You can't tell me that they're not operating as a franchise that is afraid to upset the franchise quarterback. Like you can't tell
well,
me that
no, obviously
they
that goes
weren't
without
afraid to ruffle
without
feathers.
saying.
Okay, so then you can't say that and
I
also
mean,
say
that
they
goes
weren't afraid to ruffle feathers. They are consistently afraid to ruffle feathers, and I don't blame them for that. But that is
well,
the
but
reality. We can't say that they're not.
well, I mean like you're the way you're doing it more black and white. I'm doing it more like, like the fact that they were even trying to do that just kind of goes to like they know that he needs help. You know what I'm saying? And it's almost like
But
they
to me,
sent
that
him a
feels
message.
like the quintessential eyewash then, because to me, if you could say they were kind of on the fence, that like it's the classic half pregnant. Like either you feel like you need to replace the offensive coordinator because he's not good enough, or you don't. Like I'm not trying to be super black and white about it, but I kind of feel like how else is there to be about it? Either you're talking about this, it's Nate Hackett's offense, or you're bringing in someone else. Like if you're not going to seriously give someone else the reins of the offense and make a serious change, then to me it's not a serious move you're making. You could sit there and you could put in the media, well, we explored some different passing game coordinators, but to me that just feels very much like unserious business. You're not being serious about like pure I mean, you what coach was going to come in under those circumstances? I think you knew that you weren't going to get any serious offensive, like a serious somebody who's going to seriously improve the offensive game plan. Like, and again, it's not that I don't blame them for it, but that's all. My whole point is at the end of the day, I'm not blaming Hackett. I'm not blaming Lazard. At the end of the day, this comes down to Rodgers. This was his deal. They gave the reins of the offense to him, and he was supposed to be the steward of the offense. That's my whole point. I don't think that there was ever really a serious effort to replace Nate Hackett, to be honest with you, nor should there have been. Because if you were going to replace Nate Hackett, then you're already upsetting the whole situation that you have with Rodgers. And to me, that you might as well just start over. Like to me, that you might as well just start over. You put all these pieces in place to try to give Rodgers the most comfortable situation, people he wants to work with, best chance to succeed, and you let it play out. Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a package deal, and I don't begrudge them for trying to for sticking with that, but they did stick with that. There was not really a serious effort to, oh, we're going to bring in a totally new offensive coordinator and Rodgers is going to work under that. Like, that was never really a serious thing. Like, anybody who they bring in, whether
Mhm.
they fire Nate Hackett or not, it's going to be somebody who they, who Rodgers wants to work with. I think he's earned that, and I don't blame them for that. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is that Rodgers has to be better. Like, he has to be better. Right? There's no two ways about it. And you're not going to get rid of Lazard. You're not going to get rid of Hackett. Rodgers has to be better. He has to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with that, but I'm just saying, like, in terms of like, there's like little points in there. Like at the end of the day, yes, this is all Aaron Rodgers. This is what he wanted. So, like if you're going from the macro, this is all his doing. This is what he wanted. He has nobody to complain to but himself, because he got what he got all the stuff that more or less he asked for. But my point is like, that being the case, and like how he's the one in control of like perceived in control of all of that, like that stuff, they still tried to tinker a little bit, and kind of like nudge him in the direction of like, there still could be some things that are done better. And I honestly, it's showing on game day. They have like the stagnant offense where it's like, okay, they put one guy in motion. They put the Alan Lazard in motion, and he's almost in the way when it's snapping the ball, snapping the ball to Aaron Rodgers. It's like you have somebody in motion that isn't a threat to like have like 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 for example, to run the ball. Like for example, if this was Malachi Corley doing the having the motion, right? And and then you have like Braylon Allen and Brees Hall in the backfield at the same time, and you're running Malachi Corley on the motion. That's something you got to deal with, because you basically have three running backs. Any three of them could be getting the ball and are a problem with the ball in their hands theoretically. But you have somebody in motion that, first of all, isn't a speed threat when it's Alan Lazard. I know they do this with Garrett Wilson some as well, but for the egregious one was Alan. The egregious ones are Alan Lazard. You have somebody running in motion who isn't a threat, who isn't a speed threat, and who you want to get the ball like at the sticks or on the sideline. He's not burning he's not burning the slot. He's not doing anything crazy. He's definitely not doing the end around. So it's like it's such a like Stone Age offense, the way that they're running it. It's like you're not fooling anybody. Like do something different, man. Like at some point you got to be like, yo, like, and I know like the way that it was that it
So
was
now, can I
portrayed,
ask you a
as
question?
opposed to like what he was. Okay, go ahead.
So now, can we stop with this whole they're holding back parts of the offense nonsense? Because we talked about that last week. Your
Oh
contention
yeah,
was that this was the offense, that they were getting too cute and too
no,
cocky
that's what
because
it
they didn't want
felt
to
like.
reveal things, and that was the whole case.
No,
And
but I
my
wasn't saying that
contention was
that's what
that
it.
I think this is just the offense, and this is just what it is. This is the offense that Rodgers wants to run.
No. But my contention wasn't that that's what the case was. My contention was like that's what it looked like they were doing, which is even more of a uh what's the word I'm looking for? Um
Indictment.
Indictment, exactly, on the actual offense. Because if it looked like they were holding something back, but that's in fact what they were actually not what they were doing, then it's even more egregious. You know what I'm saying? Like
Well, that was what
it's like
prompted
if
me
it
to do the film study. That whole conversation we were
yeah.
having, because I didn't see the Patriots game, and then when I was watching the Broncos game, I was just like, this offense looks so, and I was trying not to have it be like just the aesthetic of Rodgers and what he looks like, how he presents as the gray beard guy. I was trying not to let that cloud my judgment, but I was watching that Broncos game, and I'm just like, this offense looks so ancient. Like, the
Yeah.
NFL changes fast, and the best coaches and the best quarterbacks are the ones that can evolve with what the new whatever the new offense is or the new fad or whatever the case may be. And I just watched that offense, and it looks very much like the old school Aaron Rodgers offense. But this is not 2020.
Yeah.
This is not 2019, 2018. Like, the
But
NFL changes fast. And I think that as Rodgers' physical skills and gifts slowly start to diminish, he can't do the same things he used. He can't run the same offense he used to run. He can't make the same
yeah.
off balance throws. He needs, like, to me, I feel like the last 2 weeks it was Vance Joseph versus Aaron Rodgers. It
Mhm.
was Brian Flores versus Aaron Rodgers, and he took two L's back to back.
Yeah.
Just from a
And
scheme
I mean,
standpoint,
like,
just from a scheme, and like,
yeah,
he got fooled by both of them.
no, but I mean, what I'm alluding to, like, yeah, obviously he took the L or whatever, but just like if that's the offense that you're gonna run, right? The personnel that you're using to run it is beyond flawed.
Well, that's
Only
what I was
because,
going to
like, for
ask you,
example, you were
because
keep,
we were talking about Xavier Gibson, and like, you made a great point. Because I'm watching that, you have, first of all, just the personnel, the wide receivers who they have on the roster. If you're going to go, if the top three, or let's say top four, if the top four in any order, however you want to order them, are Wilson, Williams, Lazard, and Gibson. I don't even agree that those should be the primary four, but if those are the four you're going with, to me, just based on what their skill, and going back to what you were saying about who you're going to put in motion, I feel like Garrett Wilson at this point should, he and Gibson, if you're going to have Williams and Lazard, they should be on the outsides, and Wilson and Gibson should operate primarily on the inside in the slots.
yeah,
Having Gibson
absolutely.
out
And he's and
wide
get
in a man to man and not have Mike Williams on the field on a fourth and
uh,
10.
on a fourth and 10, because if you tell me that he's inside of like Mike Williams, let's say, if he's on the right side of because on this particular play he was on the left sideline. If you tell me that he's on inside, if Mike Williams is on the outside, let the left sideline, he's on the inside, and it's 4th and 5, and he's gonna run an in, to kind of cut quickly, get a 5 yard pass, get down, and get the first down. That's one thing. But you want him to, well, on that play specifically, what do you want him to Moss? Well, for that, let's say for this man, Riley Moss. Like, you want him to Moss Riley Moss, a six. I think if I'm not mistaken, he's 6'2", cornerback, and you're talking about a Xavier Gibson who's 5'8", 5'9". So what are you doing? Like it just doesn't make
With Mike
sense.
Williams, who's
Like,
six
if
four, sitting on the bench on the sidelines.
yes, and he's literally made every single dollar he's made in the NFL can be attributed to him falling out of bounds and t- doing the tightrope and getting the first down or a touchdown on the sideline. That's every 90% of his highlight tape, if not 95 or higher, is that play, is him falling out of bounds and toe tapping. So it just the personnel usage is laughable. You have I mean, because now you have Malachi Corley who's
Inactive. Why is
posting
he
stuff
inactive?
about. Yeah, but the stuff that he's been, I guess today on IG he was posting up a couple of things of like his resume in college. It's like, yo, dog, what did you draft him for? And this is the problem with the Jets specifically, and then like Robert Saleh that he's done. Like 2 years ago, it was with Garrett Wilson where he like it was the first couple weeks he wasn't really getting the ball. Boom, he's getting, he starts getting the ball, and all of a sudden, his
It wasn't
offense
until
looks
the
better.
Browns game.
With Brees Hall, yeah, with Brees Hall, they did a similar thing. Like, um, they're doing kind of this. They did the same thing with Braylon Allen last week on the goal line. Like, and then what they do this week is they overdo it and then get stuffed because now everybody knows what you're doing. Like now you're trying to overcorrect as if nobody sees it coming. So it's like it's to me it's more like obviously it's the play calling, but the personnel's usage, which is like just like mind boggling. Like you have so many better players. Like this team is so much more talented than so many other teams. You see, every time that either Sauce or DJ Reed gets hurt, they bring in Brandon Echols, and Brandon Echols is the only one getting interceptions or pick sixes or doing something crazy on the field. They bring in Jamie and Sherwood. He's killing it. Like they bring in Will McDonald had another sack. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this team has players, but on defense, they're not scared to use their depth. On offense, they're petrified of using their depth. I don't know if it's because Robert Saleh, like, he knows what offense, like, what defense and defensive traits to look for in a player who he's comfortable in putting into the game. And I don't know how much specifically is he's in control of who's on the field, like,
Well, that's what I was gonna ask.
as
That
opposed
feels
to
like a
like,
Hackett Rogers situation.
yeah, that's what drives me crazy. It's like, yo, you have ballers on this team. You're afraid to use them. You are you if you're gonna like throw an end around in, bring Malachi Corley. He's a 5'10". He's like a Kareem Hunt as a wide receiver. Like he's a violent runner. You have another big runner. Like what are you doing all this cute
And
shit?
Brees Hall,
Stop
I
giving
mean,
the
Brees
ball.
Hall has
Like
had some issues, catching balls out of the backfield to start the year. But he was a great pass catcher last year, and I feel like
yeah,
Rogers
and
is kind of
they
like,
found out.
I'm gonna throw you this little pass out of the backfield. Oh, you bobbled it. Okay, for the next 3 games, you ain't getting no love.
Yeah, but then that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, but Lazard, I'm gonna go through. You dropped three. I'm gonna give you a chance to drop your
But
four.
that's what I'm
You
saying.
know what
That's
I'm
why.
saying? So
That's
it's
my
like,
concern. That's what I'm saying is I feel like for whatever reason, whoever
yeah,
he's cool with, they don't. And the irony of it is that the same guy who's talking about accountability, it's only accountability when it's not with his homies. His homies don't need to be accountability. It's everybody else. They need to be accountability. And
yeah,
like when I was watching
yeah.
that one play, that 4th and 10 was so indicative because I hadn't really thought about it until you mentioned it last week. You specifically brought up Gibson. And then I went back and watched some of those plays. And that specific play where he gets destroyed, I forget who it was that came on the blitz from the left side and killed him. You know what? He might have seen that blitz if he had Mike Williams on the left instead of Gibson, and he even had a reason to look. He diminished a 4th and 10. He completely took half the field off of the table because he knew he wasn't going to throw deep to Xavier Gibson 10 yards in a man-to-man because he's too small. So he was zeroed
And they
in
knew
on
that
Lazard and
they knew that they
Wilson.
was.
Yeah, he zeroed in on Lazar and Wilson on the right side of the field. Gibson's over there on the left. He might as well not even run a route because Rogers never even glances his way. And because he doesn't even look to the left, the blitz is coming from that side. He doesn't know what's coming, and he gets completely destroyed. And I'm like, that play itself
And it's the same. That's the same play he got destroyed on
in the
yesterday.
Vikings game, exactly. And I'm like, yo,
Yeah,
this is leading to problems because it's like that. That's not what you brought Aaron Rodgers for. You brought Aaron Rodgers to see the whole field. You brought Aaron Rodgers to make decisions, to use that veteran savvy. I'm like, yo, if he's limiting himself to, I'm just going to try to win this game, having a game of catch with Lazard, that's what he's here for. That's very frightening. Like, that scares me because I'm like, yo, I'm watching a dude that is just making real bad decisions and in an offense that in and of itself is a bad decision. Just the personnel they have out there, how they're using the personnel. I mean, like it's deep. It's deeper than I really felt like I realized upon kind of first casual glance. I was like, yo, there's like very specific, very obvious kind of mistakes that Rodgers is making and just personnel decisions that don't make sense. Just like you said about the whole Lazard thing. I mean, Lazard is playing more snaps at wide receiver than anybody, even more than Garrett Wilson. And I mean, even on the one play, I was looking at a play. I think it was also in the Broncos game as well, where they actually put Wilson in motion, and it was actually a good play. It reminded me of one of those plays that the Chiefs run, where they have, whether it was Kadarius Toney or Jerick McKinnon, who would either go in motion or come out of the backfield and be able to catch a swing pass and get a couple of yards after the catch. He had I think it was a 3rd and 6. He had Garrett Wilson in motion, and he had Garrett Wilson open and Tyler Conklin was open. He didn't pull the trigger and he got destroyed. Yeah. And I'm like, yo,
yeah, that was
trust
where he double
issues
clutched. On the replay, I did see that there was kind of like a little bit of like the hand waving towards that direction, even though it was a little bit further back. So when I saw it the first time, I was like, yo, throw the ball. But when I did see the replay, I did see that it wasn't as clean as it looked. Still, what it ended up happening, like you throw that ball away and you're not getting hit. All you did was take an extra hit because you still didn't do anything on that play. It wasn't an incompletion. You didn't stop the clock for like even for the like going for the most minimal thing. Like the fact that you didn't get the clock stopped, all you did was get your clock cleaned, and the clock is running. Like there was nothing good from that.
Yeah, I don't know. They got a lot of things that need to be corrected before they face the Bills on Monday night. But the good news is,
did they pull Rodon? Oh no.
Oh, I don't know. I don't even have it on.
No. I think that I saw wrong.
Not necessarily good. Maybe I shouldn't say good news because I don't wish this on anybody. But they're playing a concussed Josh Allen on Monday, right? We can agree on that, right? Like Josh Allen was very obviously concussed in that game.
There was so much bad in that. Like that pisses me off only because like the way that they treat Josh Allen, but Josh Allen, that's the way he wants to be treated. But like it's annoying the way that people look at him as if like it annoys me because he wants to be like this superman, super athlete or whatever, and wants to be this physically dominant, trying to truck people over and all of this stuff. And then like he clearly got knocked out because before he hit the ground, he did the limp bounce and like was there for a second. Like, you know what I'm saying? He did the head droop or whatever.
He had the hands on the side. When you don't pick up your hands to at least protect your neck, protect your head, when your hands just stay on the side and you dolphining to the turf, that's when you know something's gone wrong upstairs.
Yeah, but just letting him come back in, that was ridiculous. Don't even get me started on the 3 back-to-back.
Oh, throwing out of the end zone?
Passing plays that there was no, like he almost threw an interception on one of them.
Yeah.
Like it was ridiculous. I mean, I guess you can kind of blame it on him being concussed, but just the stupidity of the coaching staff to not take that into account, that he was very clearly concussed, so he's not even thinking clearly. He's not the most, he doesn't think the clearest of the quarterbacks to begin with. He has a propensity to do something wild anyway. Him doing that, and Sean McDermott's indignancy, like he was just there, like, oh yeah, like it didn't work on first down, let's fucking do it again. It didn't work on second down, let's do it again. And it's like, hold on a second, do you guys not realize that there's time left on the clock? Like if you're doing that with, and you start with the ball and it's 20 seconds left and you're trying to make something happen quick, fine. But if I'm not mistaken, there was close to a minute. Was it? I don't remember if that was exactly
If
the
nothing,
one,
yeah, I
but
think so. I think so. Yeah. And if nothing else,
it was like 56 seconds.
if nothing else, make Houston use the timeouts.
Yeah,
Like even if there's not a lot of clock, there's still a lot of clock if you don't make the other team use their timeouts. Then there's even more clock. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
I don't know what the hell they were doing. And also I've been hearing a lot of kind of, it frustrates me when I listen to, like, I'm listening to people like that was a great game, and obviously there's a lot that can be dissected about how it ended with, those poor decisions, throwing the ball out of the end zone. The Bills were lucky to even be in that game. Like,
yeah,
Josh Allen had a terrible game. I mean, C.J. Stroud made his mistakes as well, but he made his mistakes to allow them back into the game. Had he not made those mistakes,
yeah,
Josh Allen would have had, the Josh Allen, the quintessential Josh Allen keeps both teams in the game where he doesn't keep his team in the game. He only keeps the other team in the game.
yeah,
Like, and that's where that game was headed. So I just feel like at the end, for everybody to be talking about how all the Bills, they had a chance. I mean, yeah, they had a chance, but they were kind of gifted a chance towards the end. They weren't playing well. Like C.J. Stroud's,
yeah.
his multiple second half turnovers is what even gave them the opportunity to try to be in the game. So I don't know. That was a wild one. I think I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel like it's kind of a. I'm sure you're happy. You got to be, as a Jets fan, you got to be happy to see the Bills lose, so you have an opportunity, facing them on Monday night. But at the same time, it's kind of like tricky because you don't necessarily want to be facing them after a loss. But
After
the good
two
thing
losses,
is that, like I said, it wasn't just facing them after a hard-fought loss where you can expect that they're going to come back with a vengeance. I mean, obviously, you can expect that they're going to, try to come back. It's a loss is a loss, but
they haven't looked good. They haven't looked good even from the beginning of the year. Like it's
yeah,
like they've been getting away with it, but it's like the teams who they've beaten aren't necessarily juggernauts by any stretch of the imagination. I mean,
yeah, no, they should have lost that first
it was
game to Arizona
it was Arizona, Jacksonville, and
and Miami, the
Miami.
Tua game. Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's not like they've beaten world beaters by any stretch. They haven't had to deal with like shitty weather. They haven't had to. You know what I'm saying? Like everything is kind of lined up for them. Like even when they went to Miami, it was a night game. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like the Sunday morning, like they're Sunday afternoon where they're baking in the sun. It was Thursday. It was Thursday night. You know what I'm saying? So like they've gotten favorable matchups in terms of like that, and
and I felt like that,
and the other two games that they won were at home.
yeah, and that spot I felt like even had Tua not gotten knocked out, I just felt like that was as
Well,
good of a spot.
they were winning that game regardless.
Yeah, and it was as good of a spot the Bills were going to get to face Miami in Miami early in the season. You got them on a Thursday night, and you also got them, to me, everybody made a big deal about how the Sunday before, you had the whole Tyreek Hill thing. That's before the game, and it's unbelievable that he was able to come back after that game and score a touchdown after everything that happened with the cops, et cetera, et cetera. I always looked at that, and the reason why I wasn't all over the Dolphins the way I wanted to be Normally, I would have been on the Dolphins at home on a Thursday night early in the season. But I just felt like after all that bullshit, and then, because I felt like they had to deal with more of that fallout from that after the game than they did before the game. Before the game,
Yeah.
all of the pre-game install, everything was done, everything was prepped. They knew, they had done all the week-long preparation leading up to the game. Obviously, this whole kind of chaos ensues a couple of hours before the game with Tyreek Hill. But I don't really feel like it really like once he's out of the, out of being detained by the police, he arrives at the stadium. Yeah, he's delayed, but it's pretty much business as usual. We'll deal with everything else that happened afterwards. But then Monday, Tuesday,
Yeah.
you're doing interviews, you're talking to the police, you're doing this and lawyers and that, and then, oh shit, we got a game in 2 days. Like, so that was why I always felt like that Thursday
Yeah.
was a
And then
great spot for the Bills to come in while they're still fucking talking to, Carl Douglas. So the Bills have been very fortunate in the
yeah,
spots that they get
and
all year long. But we'll see. I
Tyreek
don't
Hill
know.
looks like he should be getting ready to go to the police academy, since
Since he
this
wants to be a
football
cop,
thing, it
yeah.
doesn't seem to be working out recently. So, since he wants to be a cop, maybe he should start taking what is it called? The social services uh
Yes, yeah. So it's,
police exam.
yeah, he should they should refilm the Police Academy movies, and he could be the guy that does all the sound effects. Like he
The
should be
sound
one of those
effects.
guys. He could be that guy and fucking
And he's like running, like he's like chasing a criminal down that thinks he's gonna get away, and he looks at like his fake watch, and he's like tick 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 tick, and then he starts.
yo, for real. And I could see I don't know who would be maybe Calais Campbell can play Hightower, the mad big dude. He can grow one of those handlebar mustaches. They could redo the whole
Yo,
fucking Police
for
Academy
real.
movie. But I thought, I'm not gonna lie, even though it obviously didn't work out, but Tyreek Hill has fallen on tough times when he was able to be used at plus 200 touchdown. I don't. Has
Yo,
he ever been at
I,
that price?
no, I saw that, and I was like, because I let my son do a four, I let him pick four touchdown scores, which Amari Cooper, which I should have intervened thinking about Amari Cooper, but sometimes like he just stumbles across the touchdown. But that was the only guy that failed him yesterday. Um, but I was scrolling through and I'm like, oh, okay, A Chain is like minus 130. It might have been either minus 130 or plus 130 because the numbers were funky. And then it goes down and it's Tyreek Hill plus 230. I was like, that can't be a good sign. So obviously skip that one. But he was like fourth or fifth on the list behind Jalen Wright. I think Jalen Wright had shorter odds than him
Yeah.
yesterday. And then Ramondre Stevenson and I forget who the other person was, but he was plus 230 is not
That was
like
crazy. I think
it
that's
was
probably.
minus
I
it
would
was
bet
minus
that was.
130 most of the year last year.
I would bet that because I'm trying to think. I don't even think his number sunk that low 2 years ago with Teddy Bridgewater, and Skylar Thompson, when Tua got hurt 2 years ago. I don't think his number ever dipped that low. Because we were doing the touchdown props back then, and I never saw him dip that low. When I saw him dip that low,
Yeah.
I was like,
Because I feel like nobody used
I
it.
have to take this. I was like, I don't even feel good about it, but I have to take it. I
Yeah.
can't not like. I was like,
Yeah.
because
Like at some point, because at some point also it's like, okay, we're gonna have to manufacture a touchdown for Tyreek Hill just for the purpose of shutting up.
Yeah, and to be fair, like he's still, regardless of who the quarterback is, he still is a guy who, if you get him a pass anywhere on the field, he could score from anywhere on the field. He still is that guy. I mean, obviously, it's much harder to do when the offense is looking like shit, but he could still, him and Tyler Huntley can mistake their way into a touchdown pass. Like he could. All he has to do is make one move, and he could score. But yeah, I don't know. I don't even know. I was surprised that they. I mean, I guess I wasn't shocked that they won that game considering who they were playing, but I can't even really say I was surprised that they won because it's not like they did. I was surprised at how well the defense played on the road.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, but you got to take into account who they're playing.
Well,
But I
what
mean,
happened to Jacoby
whatever.
Brissett?
That's he was good. He was good not too long ago.
Like he wasn't
He
this.
that, he was the reason Tua couldn't get on the field with Brian Flores. You know what I'm saying? Like, because he thought he was QB1 too. Remember, like,
And he was the reason why Sam Howell got shipped out of Washington because
yeah,
he kept Sam Howell off the field. Like he was playing eye
yeah,
with
it's
Washington,
crazy.
and Washington didn't even have a good squad. And now,
Yeah, I
I
don't know,
thought,
man.
if anywhere, coming back to the place where he started in New England, and kind of this is the first time since I think since the Deshaun Watson suspension that he has been kind of given the starting role to start a season. So I thought he was going to
Yeah,
be in the best position maybe of his
I thought
career to be successful.
I thought that he was gonna be. I thought that he was gonna be the starter in New England, not because of like they didn't want to put Drake May out there, but because a veteran. Uh, Come on, you kidding me?
I thought he was going to do the
Because of a
Alex Smith
vet.
for
Yeah, yeah,
for
like
this guy
because
type
you
of
have a
deal.
veteran, you have a veteran there. You have, that he's can hold down the fort. The offense kind of like gets fortified a little bit. Everybody kind of learns like what's going to happen with this offense, and and uh and then like you bring the rookie in week 12 because now you know what the offense can do. Everybody knows what their role is. It's not like that you're relying on a rookie to kind of change everything up. But man, it's almost like now it's almost to the point where like you have to bench him
Yeah, I don't think I.
because Drake May is just better.
Yeah, I don't know how much longer he's like. Because obviously, New England
Because I
fans
saw
are not as
reports.
loud as they used to be. They've gotten considerably quieter since Tom Brady left, but they're still loud up there. They're still loud in Boston, and the Boston phones are
Yeah.
still they already wanted Drake May and not Jacoby Brissett to start the season. The only way Jacoby Brissett,
WEEI.
yes, and the only way he was going to be able to kind of stave that off was to play relatively well, and he's been bad. I'm just like I never really thought he was like some big time quarterback, but I thought that in this spot, kind of, being put in this position, I thought that he would be able to have a little bit more success, especially at home against coming off of a loss, a big time blowout loss in San Fran. I thought coming back home, taking on a wounded fucking Dolphins team. Like that's a spot you got to win that game. You got to find a way to put up more. What did they score 10 points? Come on, man. Like that was
Yeah.
stunning. I don't
Yeah. So
care.
it's great. 10
I
to
don't care
15.
what your situation is. Like Miami, they have lost so much on defense. I'm not. You're not going to convince me that Miami is like this big time shutdown defense. I mean, their defense played well, but man, what is going on with Jacoby Brissett? And I also, we'll see what happens with Gerard Mayo. I don't want to kill him because obviously he's dealing with a whole complete overhaul rebuild, and it's a tough spot to be following following the footsteps of maybe the greatest coach ever. But I don't know, man.
You got to be the coach. You got to be the coach who replaces the coach who replaces him.
What's what was with the whole? Because speaking of Ramondre Stevenson, when I saw that Ramondre Stevenson's had better odds to score a touchdown than Antonio Gibson, I knew that whole Antonio
Even though he was
Gibson
benched.
starter thing. Yeah, exactly. That was when I knew somebody got a tip that this whole Ramondre Stevenson benching is not really a benching. And what was the what was the point of that? I felt like even before the odds came out and I was kind of like, this is going to be bullshit. When I saw on my screen announced, Gerard Mayo announces Antonio Gibson to start, I was thinking to myself, what are you doing? that's not even a thing in modern NFL. Ramondre Stevenson is not of the caliber that you even need to announce his benching. Like you could have very easily just like you could have very easily just not given him the like you could have just transitioned to Antonio. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like he's Adrian Peterson. We're gonna sit him down. Who cares? Like the fact
Yeah,
that
yeah,
that was
yeah,
made an announcement, I was already kind of looking at it like, well, what is he trying to do here? Is he trying? Because
they're just trying to
I'm getting
embarrass
some
him.
Antonio Pierce vibes a little bit, like this whole kind
Yeah.
of, I'm gonna, swing it around and
Tough
really to let
guy, tough
everybody know.
guy.
Yeah,
I
like
used to be a linebacker, so I'm gonna show you what my mentality is, even though it's not really the case. It's almost like what you're saying, what like Aaron Rodgers is doing, where he like wants accountability, but it's only accountability for other people as opposed to like his guys.
yeah, I don't know. Like I was very curious about why are we even announcing that? Like Ramondre Stevenson he has not earned the right to be benched. Like he's not that kind of
He
he's not
hasn't,
that kind of a
yeah,
running
yeah,
back.
yeah. He's barely earned the right to like be on the field.
Exactly. Like if they would have just like pure example, Zamir White. Well, he ended up getting hurt, but he got benched, and there was no
Yeah,
announcement that
yeah. The
Alexander
only reason
Madison's going to be our starter now.
yeah, the only reason I realized is because I drafted Samir White late in one of my fantasy teams, and like he's just been a complete stinker. I think he's only been I think week one, I think he got a touchdown on week two, but it's been a stinker for the other weeks, and it's like, now he got injured. Oh, okay. And I clicked on him like to see what his injury was, and that's when I realized that Madison took over his
Yeah, had been
like
taking
the
carries from
workload
him.
duties.
Exactly. Like they could have easily done the same thing in New England. Like that was clearly just performative. Like you were just putting on a show, and I'm just like, Gerard Mayo, you're 5 weeks into your coaching career to be doing media performances. That just, I'm like, I don't know what that even means. Like, I want to, I want to believe that he could be a good coach, but I'm just kind of like, yo, bro, you got a trash ass team. Like, what kind of fucking statements are you making? I'm gonna bench this guy. Like, I'm gonna announce that I'm benching this guy. Like, you could have very easily just, like, I don't even think anybody would have, the greater NFL public would not have noticed if Ramondre
Yeah.
Stevenson did not get a carry. Like the fantasy people would have been like, "Whoa, what the fuck happened?" But no one would have
Yeah.
cared. It would have just been okay. They decided to give Gibson the carries. Like that. That's just how running
Niggas.
backs kind of go nowadays. Unless you're like somebody who has earned it, which Ramondre
Mhm.
Stevenson, unfortunately, not to be fucked up, but has not. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, did you see in the Colts game the other egregious? This is driving me like now. I'm making it a mission to like notice. But did you see the penalty called on Josh Downs for not even the finger guns doing this? He didn't even do the whatever this thing is called, the because it's called a gatillo in Spanish. I don't know what the name is,
That's
but the
what it's
little
called
this.
everywhere.
Okay, but he did this after a first down and didn't even do this. All he did was this and got the 15-yard penalty. I don't know. Did you catch that? Because,
No,
like
I
I
did
said, I
not see
was.
that, but I thought about you when I saw Darius Slayton do it.
Oh, really?
You
I
didn't
must
see
have missed
that?
that one. No, no.
Yeah,
Did he
Darius
get penalized?
Slayton, he did. He had a catch on the sidelines, and his I think was lesser. I didn't see the Downs one, but his was definitely lesser than the Lazard one of the week prior. His was literally signaling first down.
Hmm.
That was it.
So it,
There was no
now,
finger movement. Nothing.
now, did you see? Did you see what the? I did
But he
see.
caught a touchdown on that same drive, so it didn't prevent them from
Did
winning the
did
way it did for the
did
Jets the week before.
yeah. There you go. Did you
No, you
see
said that,
what
not me.
the? I know that you, but I'm saying there you go.
Okay.
Did you see the the modification that Brian Burns did to avoid that
No,
penalty?
what'd he do? Fucking
So remember
Spider-Man
how like
Viz?
yep.
Did he really?
So you know like this I forget like it's like doing like this whatever
Yeah,
like the
yeah, yeah.
TikTok one or whatever. he was doing this with the same movement and same dance, but with the Spider-Man hands instead of the mimicking of the guns
Yeah, I don't know. This whole
after
thing is
the
getting
sack.
weird. Like this is reminding
It's
me of the whole
ridiculous,
thing. But this
man.
is reminding me of Chad Ochocinco, circa 1998.
Yeah, yeah, but that's when you weren't allowed to do that stuff.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This is what it's reminding me of. I don't even know what. I don't know what the emphasis
Now I will
is. Are we?
now I will say the rule is in place for occasions like the college player
That was incredible.
that
That was
I said
incredible.
that was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever seen. And I told because I showed Adriel that because it's just that it was ridiculous to begin with. More ridiculous was that I didn't know
Like I
that they
couldn't
were
in that
getting blown
video.
out.
In that video, I couldn't even see the guy who was on the grass, but I was picturing him like going like that, like he was also like playing along. That's how like
Like
performative this shit was.
like
Sonny Corleone at the toll booth,
or
fucking
fucking or
flailing.
Terry Crews in what's that movie with the
Oh, and
when they shoot it with
yes, what's
that they
that?
shoot Forrest Whitaker that they that
Yes,
he's in the 7-Eleven and they shoot him up like
yes. I forget what the name of that movie is, but yes, that's exactly what I was picturing. Like that shit is crazy. But what is the rule? Is the rule that you can't mimic a gun? What's the written rule? Do you
yeah,
know?
because gun celebrations. That's what it was.
I see.
Obviously, like you're doing but they changed it into weapon. They did it on a bow and arrow. Like a bow and arrow, it's like the most primitive of weapons. It's not like it's not an actual threat. You know what I'm saying?
I think if it's an
it's just
Olympic
a thing you
sport, we
do.
should allow it. That's
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what I think the rule should be.
Yeah, yeah.
If you want to
I think
mimic
like
the casual hand in the pocket shooter guy that went viral
yeah,
over the
yeah,
summer,
yeah.
I think you should be allowed.
Or throwing a discus like a disc in the air and like
Yeah, yeah,
shooting it. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah. A little
something like
skeet
that.
shooting. Yeah, I think that should be allowed.
Well, like, because what are you gonna do now? What? Because I was thinking, like, what would be my modification? I said, all right, maybe I score, take the football, and I dunk, and I pretend to dunk a little wand into bubble water, and like blow like this, and pretend I'm like popping all the little bubbles, so like nobody gets offended.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if the rule is no weapons, I just feel like that's a little too vague. I think if the rule is no guns, the players should be able
Yeah, that's
to live without having to mimic firing a gun.
because that's a thing. That's okay. No guns. Because we're trying to. There's a gun control issue. There's also
Well,
like
hey, careful! Don't say that.
no, no, no. Or, I
Listen,
know it's not.
Kamala,
It might
keep
not be the
down,
case.
buddy.
But like you don't want to. It's the same. It's the same reason that rappers are protested or were protested against. You don't want to. You don't want to minimize or glamorize gun culture. Like only when it means involving black people.
Yes, of course.
But you know what I'm saying? Like if you say guns, that's one thing. But you say weapons, it's like, oh yeah, assault with a deadly weapon. I can hit somebody over the head with a bowling pin, and I'm still gonna get assault with a deadly weapon. So now I can't do the fucking bowling thing because that's technically that's a weapon as well.
Yeah, that's crazy. Now the college guy, he did get flagged, or no?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. And they
So
they
here's
were
my
down by
question.
like 30 points or something ridiculous.
Oh, that makes it even better. No, but here's my question now, because I mean, I'm sure you saw it. I think it was going around. I saw it while watching the game. I think it was, what game was I watching? I don't even remember, but I'm sure you saw the guy with the eye black that said "kill everybody." You saw that,
Oh,
right?
Ryan Williams.
Yes. And what game was that? It was not this
That
past
wasn't
Saturday.
that
It was
wasn't
Saturday
that wasn't the
before.
Vandy game. It was the Georgia game.
That's what it was. Yeah. So I was watching that game and I saw that and I laughed because they were talking specifically about him for an extended time, and the broadcast kept zooming in on his face, and all you just kept seeing were just these eyes with "kill everybody under it." And I was thinking to myself, like, you can't even do that in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, that's not allowed.
I didn't check. So maybe they did, maybe they did correct that because, especially with him being the superstar that he, because breaking out the way he did and him being 17, he's such a story that I think that maybe that happened and like they kind of got to him. I had to, I forgot to check because I didn't watch any college football this Saturday only because I had Adriel's football game or whatever.
So you didn't watch Auburn?
But
You didn't watch Auburn get slapped up by Georgia?
no, I did not. But I know they lost to Vandy. Alabama did. So, but I didn't see any highlights, and I didn't see any close-ups because I guess there wasn't really much to celebrate in terms
Yeah.
of Bama. But I got to imagine. I'm gonna go back and double check, but I gotta imagine that was they were like maybe a kill everyone in these current times
Yeah, that
isn't
was aggressive.
the
Man.
message
That was aggressive.
that we don't necessarily want to convey.
But like, not to be fucked up, but if that epiphany came to them after the game, after seeing how it played on TV, then shame on them, because somebody had to be in the huddle, in the practice, in the locker room, and seen that, and somebody should have been like, maybe not. Maybe not. This is, this game. We're gonna be on TV. It's a big game, especially knowing the stakes of that specific game. Like, listen, I'm all for that kind of motivation, but when you're talking about a television product like that, that's a tough deal, man.
And especially going against a team who has a history of actually killing everyone. When you're talking about the Georgia Bulldogs. So,
well, that's not to mention that Alabama had their own little basketball situation.
yeah. So there might not be that many people left if you're taking into account those two colleges. You might want to dial it back.
Yeah, I got to go back and look at the highlights and see if that stayed. And to tell you the truth, I wouldn't be surprised if it did, if he still did have it. But I don't know, just the hypocrisy of that paired with you can't do these whatever celebrations on the field. It's just I don't know what they're trying to do. It's wild. But
all right, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, that's gonna do it. That's the recap show. Just finally giving specific recaps on the picks. I'm holding on for my 3-point pick, Saints plus 5.5. Word Life with he had one pick, his Packers pick, which, man, that was a sweat for him for sure. I mean, the Rams gave that away in every which way.
That was chinny chin chin.
Yeah. So as it stands, Word Life with the lead. He's going into next week with the lead no matter what. The best I can do is get this 3 points and get to 15. He is at 15.5 after the results of this week. And you're right there at 13. And the box needs the Chiefs. So me and the box are going head to head. I was worried when I pulled that Chiefs ball out the box, but we'll see. We'll see. I haven't seen what's the score of the Chiefs game right now. Do we know?
It's 7-10, but the Chiefs are going in 4th and 1. I don't know if they're going to kick a field goal or they're going to try to get this.
Oh, Kareem Hunt with the touchdown. Oh, Shaheed had a 43-yard touchdown. Beautiful. I took Shaheed to have a 30-yard reception.
I took Shaheed off. And I went Kareem Hunt and I had Kareem Hunt and Shaheed, which I would have been money, but I switched it last second. I said, let me go Alvin Kamara. Wah, wah. I mean, there's still time, but still.
And I'm reading this thing right now. I didn't see this headline about Rashee Rice. Have you seen this?
No.
What does this even mean? The Kansas City Chiefs and
Is it
wide
about his
receiver
mom?
Rasheed Rice have a lot of optimism that his knee injury isn't as significant as initially feared, and that his recovery timeline could be quote much shorter than first believed. A source told ESPN's Adam Schefter on Monday. It's still unlikely
Nah.
Rice will play again this season, but
So
doctors will
what the
not
fuck
know
does it
for
matter?
sure. That's what I'm saying. What does that mean? Like much shorter?
Yeah,
What's
Rasheed
shorter? He's
Rice is
still
out for the season. No, no, no. He's not out. He's not that out for the season. He's just not gonna play this season.
That's basically what the story. Oh man,
It's
they'll
not a
work anything
season.
into a
It's not a
headline.
season. It's not a season-ending injury. He's just not gonna play for the rest of the year.
What does that mean? I'm like, it's still. Well, what did I just read? They won't know for sure until they perform surgery Tuesday morning.
Did you read about his mama?
No,
Did you
I'm
see that
sorry,
story?
Mama. Well, no, what happened?
No. Rasheed Rice's mom was caught on tape stealing packages from in front of someone's apartment,
No,
wearing a jersey that said Mama Rice on the back.
no way. That's not true. That can't be
Unless
true.
unless I've been ball sacked.
Oh man, what a world. That's the perfect way. That's the perfect way to end the. That's the recap. That's the recap right there. That's the perfect recap. Oh man, until Thursday, maybe we get word life, maybe we don't. We'll see what happens. We'll hope.